You're a business owner, you're a massive pillar in the community, a lot of people look up to you.
I knew I had to be in this fight and not give up. Life has taught me a lot, to be honest with you.
What path did you take and how did you end up getting to the point you're at now?
There's definitely an element of like narcissism and putting yourself in positions that make you feel good. Those who are chosen by God are chased by the devil.
The struggle doesn't end even if life gets better.
I took someone to court where I ended up coming out of court with like nearly 40 grand fine.
I'll be very honest, I felt like I didn't want to be on this planet anymore.
Creativity always beats adversity. No matter what situation you're in, if you can think creatively and think outside the box, you will come up with the answers.
Yeah.
The end goal is freedom. The end goal is to be able to decide how I want to live my life.
Look at SMF, you know, the closure of my unit. Flagship store, lots of money went into it, perfect branding. So what went wrong? He trades at Manchester Carnival every year. He's got a cafe and a healthy food bar based on a Caribbean cuisine with a twist. Most of it's vegan, vegetarian, and he's a massive, massive pillar in our community. So I want to welcome my good friend Raph to De-Partie Chat.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate being here. I'm one of the first guests, so
yeah,
it's
so
good.
I'll just tell, obviously, everyone and yourself what I'm aiming to do with this is I want to build a platform for individuals in the industry. You know, when we was younger coming up, there wasn't many support networks, and then as we've become more seasoned in our industry, you had a massive 2-3 year period where we couldn't really do anything in our industry, in our careers, because of lockdown, because of COVID, and a lot of people's careers either derailed or was put on hold. So I want to kind of reignite that spark, build up the momentum again for young individuals coming into the industry and showcase what we've done in our time, what you've done, what I've done, and our views. And I also want to touch on how we get through life's problems, maintain a healthy mindset and keep pushing on. So with that being said, I know with ARMR store, you know, you had a lot of support from your mum cooking, and she was doing, I think she was doing all your dumplings at some point.
Yeah,
have you now managed to learn how to make those yet?
You know, I'll be honest with you, no. So yeah, my mum's been grafting with me from pretty much from the start, and we had a catering job the other day. It was on a Sunday. She works pretty much 6 days a week with me.
The one with the pickled carrots?
No.
Well, that's the thing, though. You have to do the work at midnight.
Well, I'll touch on that in a sec. But anyway, we had a birthday. I can't remember what it was for. And I thought, you know, it's a Sunday. My mum's off, so I'm not going to bother her. And I was trying making dumplings myself, and I thought, nah, I just had to call my mum and say,
you tripped it up.
I said, look, these are the dumplings that I'm doing are all right, but they're just not on your level. And from the feedback we got, everyone was saying the dumplings were the best that they had.
What's your favourite dumplings, boiled or fried?
I'm a big fan of boiled dumplings.
I'm a big fan of boiled, man.
Like, it depends what it is. It's like, you know, if I'm having like some ackee and like, I don't know, callaloo or like ground food or
even
whatever.
a soup day.
Oh yeah, or like dumplings and soup. It's perfect for me. But fried dumplings are just easier sometimes.
So what does it mean to you in terms of having, you know, someone who's been there since day one, literally for you, and having them as a support network, and how does it benefit your business and your operation?
It's vital, man. I think especially as like an ambitious young man, I think we get a lot of confidence thinking that we can do everything ourselves. But generally, the people that have been around me, like my partner and my mum, and the staff I've had on the way, it would have been impossible to do what we've managed to achieve and get into the position we're in now, with some other projects that are coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like without them being there.
Do you know what's crazy is, obviously I didn't personally have my mother around from early, but I did have a strong female in my life, which was my auntie. Now, I openly speak about my auntie a lot, and the support that she's given me, you can't put it into words. You literally can't put it into words. She's been there for me in times where I've had nowhere to stay, nowhere to live, no money, no job, no ambitions, and she allowed me to start my business. So I understand that foundation, that pillar, and what I always try to do is, especially say for example females within my brand, I try and extract traits of my auntie and reciprocate those or convert those or translate those in a way that the females in my brand can gain knowledge and experience from, so they can pick up certain traits that I've picked up from my auntie, and I can project that onto them. Not like project onto them, but
no. But I think I get what you're saying, man, and like having that feminine balance and energy and understanding is definitely what has helped me in my business, and
because women are more organised.
Women are more.
Tidier.
I mean, look, I'm a man's man at the end of the day, but like the women that have been in the business have been like solid, man, proper soldiers, and they add something to your business that other young men. I was having this conversation again with staff the other day. 80% of our staff have been women. I'm not like boasting about that or whatever it is. It's just how it's played out. But I find that with young men these days, it's difficult for them to stick to something, stick to a path, or for whatever reason. But the women have always been.
What was the path and the journey that you took? Let's say from leaving college or from that point onwards, you know, how did you end up pushing yourself towards Caribbean food, a cafe, healthy food, and using local brands? Because I think that's we'll touch on that in a minute, but using the local brands is a phenomenal thing.
That's a complex question because there's so many angles to it.
Yeah.
But you know, I never, when I was young, I was playing football. I can even remember saying to my teacher and whatnot, like, I don't need to do my GCSEs. Like, everything's like set for me in terms of where I'm going. I was so confident that I would get my pro contract, which I eventually did.
They spelt fudge out of my GCSEs, you know. F-U-D-G-E.
But I mean, what does it matter to a certain degree? I think it's what you have, and I think I have, and a lot of people who are ambitious share, is like, it's something that you're not really going to learn in school. It's that drive, it's that vision, it's the creativity, it's that ability to make things work.
Would you agree that there's a slight demand for aggression for young men? Not in a way that they go in and wreck a room or assault somebody, but I mean in terms of your ambitions, your dreams, your goals, understanding them first of all, but then do you think life has a certain demand for young men to have a slight aggression to get there?
I think when it's controlled, it's necessary, man. It's like it's part of. Look, men have these traits for certain reasons, and like having ambition and being tended to be more aggressive than females, etc. They're all, once applied correctly, help you achieve your goals. So like on the football pitch, I was probably the most horrible person you'd ever meet. Because I just took it so serious, and I was always full of like, as a defender, I took everything personal. Like this person was trying to score against me, and it's like a real battle.
It's personal,
yeah. But off the pitch, when I'm not in that environment, it's a different thing, and I've realised now with my business, if we're quiet, we'll have a laugh and a joke. But the team know that when it gets busy, that it's game time basically.
Yeah, I think with running a business like yours and like mine, you know, in our industry, hospitality, catering, it's very similar to football because it's not just about what you're doing on the pitch or in the kitchen or in service or out of service. It's about the culture that you build outside of the kitchen, outside of service, outside of the busy rushes. That culture that you build in a way, if we was going to sit down with someone who's new to the industry and starting their business today, the first thing I would personally say is everything that you do outside of service is just as important. Now, something you said which was absolutely phenomenal, which is so inspirational, it's word for word, you said, whatever you're trying to achieve, never give up. I still remember being stood in this room pretending to serve imaginary customers. It's weird, manifesting is real. And you had an empty picture of ARMR store before it was ARMR store, and it was just concrete, and that's evidence of what you was doing off the pitch, outside of service, outside of the busy rushes, and that's before you even knew it was going to lift off, or before. What does it mean to you hearing those words repeated back to you now?
It's crazy, man. Actually, you know, it's I felt a few hairs on the back of my neck stand up a little bit because it took me right back to being there in an completely empty space. and not really knowing how we're gonna get the business off the ground.
Yeah.
But I knew that for me it was literally almost like having a physical fight. I was like shouting at the top of my voice most days. If anybody walked past, they would have called the police thinking that I was, not well or whatever. But I knew I had to be in this fight and not give up and try my best. I have a saying which is creativity beats adversity all the time, and that's true, because in that position it's always like, all right, what can I do? What can I leverage? Can I meditate? How am I spending my time? Did I say meditate or levitate then?
Levitate.
Did I say levitate? How
We get it
stupid.
though. Elevate.
Can I levitate?
Get a thesaurus
Can I
out.
meditate? Can I meditate on it? And really just really tap into
Marinade on it.
Marinade. But really tap into spiritual aspects, and part of me doing that and saying that was obviously in my shop there's a quote in the bathroom which is from a poem by a poet called Charles Bukowski, and it's all about no matter what happens, you just keep going, and even if the worst things happen and you have the worst odds against you, you just keep going. And I remember listening to that about 4 or 5 times a day.
Wow.
And I just stuck with it. But you asked a really, really good question before.
Yeah.
I think it's important to answer. You mentioned about getting into it. I think I started talking about football.
Yeah.
What did you?
So I wanted to look into the journey from when you first left college or the educational system. What path did you take, and how did you end up getting to the point you're at now? Like, you're a business owner, you're a massive pillar in your community. A lot of people look up to you. What was the journey? Break it down.
Yeah. So again, remember, it's a very complex question because there's so many angles I can answer this from. But I think a lot of it stemmed from young, and I've always been the odd one out of school. Yeah. I've always I never really fit into any categories because I never really thought the same, if that makes sense.
Imposter syndrome, man.
There's an imposter syndrome. I mean, I still have that now, man. But I never really so growing up in Long South, so my dad had his own business, and I got the privilege of seeing my dad work every day. Literally only used to take Christmas Day off, and then my mum worked 3 jobs. They were separated, so I got to see the fruits of labour, I guess, from young. Although the fruits weren't that readily available, I got to see, obviously, my mum and dad managed to maintain their own houses and whatnot. But I've always had this sense of burning unjust in terms of why are people from my community? I'd experienced being around the ordeal edges of the world when I was quite young, so I could see the difference between how we was living and how other people were living. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that really stood out to me was opportunities for not only myself or my mum or family members to progress themselves was sorely lacking. So that's why now, obviously, as soon as we open, and again, fast forward a little bit, I used to manage at Holland & Barrett, managed at Predator Nutrition, and any time I wanted to do anything that had anything to do with the community, it was always no, which helped relight the desire to be able to, when I get to be able to say to myself, when I get to a certain position, it's not just for me, it's for. So when people come in and ask me, is this my shop? I say, well, yeah, it's our shop. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like we all.
Yeah, I get it sometimes in here. It was you own this place, apparently,
yeah. Well, I'm responsible for paying the bills.
Yeah, if it goes wrong, I'm the one who gets the blame.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. But no, I never thought I'd be doing this. I always thought I'd be playing football. Mm-hmm. Like most young kids, that doesn't work out.
So let's take Raph of old.
Yeah.
He's playing football, he's good at it, he's got passion for it. Takes everything personal. And Raph of modern. What are the 2 key differentiators there?
I think just understanding life has taught me a lot, to be honest with you. I think I still have the same drivers, and I think I'll always be.
Does the modern Raph still take every tackle personally?
No,
metaphorically.
Unless it was meant to, unless it was aimed at being personal.
Yeah.
But I think I try not to. I think early on in the business, you know, if like, you know, I guess my team members were always late or whatever, it would feel personal because it'd be like, you can see that we're trying.
Your life's on the line.
Like, this is, you're not working for Asda, you're not working for wherever else. You see where this money goes. Well, when you come into this shop, you see that, you see my son, my partner, like you're close to.
And like you said, they're there on the days where it's not busy as well, so it is a family feeling.
This is what I'm saying.
It's
so
a
it's
good
like
culture to have.
So it's like now there's more understanding around it. This trying to actually not have knee-jerk reactions. Take myself, if someone does something that pisses me off, take myself away from it and think on it for a while. Massive point you just made there. You know, you referred to it as a knee-jerk reaction. Now, impulsiveness is something that is, you know, the only way you can ever fight against impulsiveness is to be experienced and adapt and wise. Now, when you're young and coming up, I'll take myself as an example. Every opportunity that I was thrown, whether it be a contract in town, a festival to do, a catering job to do, because I was in a place where there wasn't many opportunities, I felt like I had to grasp and grab these opportunities by the horns and run with them and take them and say yes to every single opportunity, just because I never know, almost as if I didn't know when my next meal was going to come. So that impulsiveness, it can be seen in so many different ways. It can be seen as reactive, it can be seen as taking on jobs and gigs without actually weighing them up, costing them up, measuring them up, and you end up damaging yourself in the long run. So I think it's very key that, you know, it's good that you touched on that. Yeah, but I think by nature, like, ambitious people will always overstretch, man. Like, and you know, the opposite of that is people who do nothing. Yeah. And I think I would rather sit down with a room full of overstretchers than people who, you know, don't do anything. I think I don't like using the term balance. I'm gonna maybe get into that later. But I get what you're saying. I've learned to say no to some things. I've learned anything that doesn't have the conditions for success. So whether that be catering jobs, bookings, new opportunities to trade elsewhere, I have to ask myself, are the conditions there for me to be successful?
And the harsh reality about that being, you don't know until you've done it before. Yeah. You don't know until you failed at it before, or taken a job that didn't pay off before. The harsh reality of it is that's the truth.
That's the learning, and that's what you don't get at university. Like, you don't, you know, this. I mean, and I learned a huge lesson this year. We spent 10 months and lots of money trying to open a venue that, in hindsight, I'm so glad we didn't end up going with. But you know, that helped me in like what's coming up in terms of, all right, so that didn't work, so now it's like we get a few more opportunities, but I say no because I've learned already this year. But then we get from saying no to one opportunity, you know, we've just landed now a new contract to, we're in the middle of negotiating a contract to take over the bar and kitchen space at somewhere quite big and prominent in Manchester, and that only comes from like reevaluating what's gone wrong and then learning from that.
Could you see yourself when you was it Predator Nutrition? Yeah. When you was the manager of Predator Nutrition, could you see where you was going to go, or was you a bird trapped in a cage that wanted to get out but didn't know what was out in the world?
Up until, say, like, obviously I came out of football quite early, maybe 21, 20. And from like 21 to maybe 26, 27, I was getting all these jobs. And the jobs I was getting was never for the money. It was always for the experience or the position. But I was still going home and I'm finding it difficult because I didn't feel like I was living, I guess, a purposeful life. I didn't know what my purpose was, and then it was just weird, like a penny dropped, because my plan was always, from young, it was play football to 35, own businesses, etc. So then when the penny dropped, I thought, oh shit, and I started looking back at the things I was interested in and where I wanted to go and who I wanted to be. So the job at Predator Nutrition really was me because they headhunted me from Holland about GNC to come and start a new project in the Arndale. That job really, I knew it was just experience for me to do my own thing.
Yeah, it's a gateway, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all it. That's all it ever was.
How important do you think it is to lay those foundations, though?
Massively important. Like, I have this conversation. We have quite a lot of young people. In fact, I just come from a meeting with. I won't mention too much of it, but I just come from a meeting. One of my staff members who pulled me to one side, and she's making some decisions about her career, and I keep, the message when I speak to him is like, stop making decisions for right now. All right, okay, you're struggling, whatever's going on, and like you want this other thing, new shiny thing that's going to be okay for the next 3 months. But what are you learning there?
How do you explain to somebody who's younger, like, obviously in a position of leadership, when you came through Predator, there must have been someone there to guide you through the process, but now you're in that position. How do you explain to someone who's going through that same process you went through years ago, that the struggle doesn't end even if life gets better? The struggle does not end even if life gets better. And what I mean by that is she could start a business tomorrow, and she could turn over £1.6 million a year, she could turn over £2 million a year, whatever it is, but there's going to be even more problems popping up. How do you explain to them that no matter what choice you make, life is going to be difficult? You just have to keep. How do you explain that to them?
Well, the way I see it is, so from this conversation I had today, I've always had with lots of younger people, is most of them not going to listen. But what's happened is the seed's been planted. So if you take for example, you have, and this is why mentors are so important, because take for example, you have 2 kids, one of them who's been spoken to, the other one who isn't. The ones who's been spoken to won't take it on board. Majority of the time they don't, but then they'll do what they did and make that mistake, and what you told them will start to resonate, and then from there that information will be really received, if that makes sense. And I feel like all you can do is just give experience. All you can do is pass on what you're saying. People look at me and think, I guess from the outside looking in, life is cushy, but who says it now? I can't remember who says it, but new levels bring new devils. I think it's experience is the biggest teacher, and it's also making sure that I'm in a position where people actually want to listen. So if somebody doesn't listen, then I've got to ask myself, well, is this something about me as to why, or is this something that I haven't achieved, or the way I went about it? So it's always important to not necessarily make it just about the individual, maybe adjust your own communication style moving forward.
Yeah. Do you know, when I first met you properly, I think I was invited into, I can't remember who actually introduced us, Was it Marvin? Was it Shafi? I can't remember. You introduced me to Shafi, didn't you?
Yeah.
When I first met you, I came into your store, and I think I'd been in before, and I had a patty before. But I remember looking around and seeing all these organic, smaller brands, and that was wholesome, very, very different and unique. And I remember sitting down with you, and the first conversation me and you actually ever had was about a new project you was working on. And straight away, it excited me, even though it wasn't my project. And it's because I was sat in the room with someone who's a catalyst, someone that's got ambition, someone that wants to progress somewhere or take new adventures. Not to just completely go off the topic of what to say to people that want to start making a change for their life, but and what do you say to them when? How do you explain to them that the reality of life is always going to be there? But it's almost a conversation where when I've got employees that need to make a change in their life and there's something difficult going on, I always take my own scenarios, and I always ask myself, well, why am I chasing a new venture? Why am I ambitious? Why, for example, why are you looking at opening a new shop, a new unit? Why are you looking to expand? Why not settle? You're doing very well where you are. Why not stop there? What is over the bridge? What's on the other side of the bridge that you really need to get to?
I think look, if we're being honest, there's there's definitely an element of like narcissism and
hunger, greed,
and like, you know, having, you know, putting yourself in positions that make you feel good. But at the same time, that's not the end goal for me. The end goal is freedom. The end goal is to be able to decide how I want to live my life. So again, I touched on balance before. You know, we had a conversation in the shop the other day. The customers talked about me getting a rest, all these sorts of things. But I say, well, this is how I view my balance. I'm gonna literally bring myself as close to the point of death as possible in order to get my goals for 20 years, and then 20 years after that I'll have my balance.
Get rich or die trying.
Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like your balance might be, people's balance generally is working Monday to Friday, taking the weekend off. My balance, the way I see it, is working 20 to 40 and then taking the rest of my life off. So obviously, if I'm still here, by the grace of God, by the time I'm 60, then that balance would have worked. But that's just the risk I take, and the way I see it is, you know, I'm constantly making sacrifices. I'm not going to places. People are getting upset with me. I'm not answering my phone sometimes. I'm not replying back quickly. You know, I'm missing weddings.
I remember I seen on social media you took a break. I think you went to Thailand. Took a mental break, and you know, there must have been a lot of things going on for you. Obviously, as a man, as an entrepreneur, as a family man, as someone who's a pillar in the community that a lot of people will probably be looking to for advice and leadership. Two things off that. First thing is, did the break work? And second thing is, when you was out there, did it feel like a break? Did you actually get away? You know?
The worst thing I did was take my laptop with me. You know, that was the worst thing I did. And I took a break. It was really like last minute, and I thought, you know, I need to get out of here and take a break. But I did, you know, I was on my laptop every day, and I was made sure I was available for the guys that needed me. And we had quite a new team in, so although I needed and wanted a break, I knew I didn't have the foundation, so I would have had to compromise somewhere.
The thing is, as an entrepreneur, it's hard, and especially in the food industry, it's hard. You know, you want to take these breaks, but there's never a good time for it. So I think you did the right thing in terms of dropping everything, regardless of the stage it was at, and focus on yourself. And the reason I say that is because without you, if you burn out and crash, then the whole organisation is going to burn out and crash. Now, if you took what's the word? Hiatus. If you took a break for 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, whatever the period may be, that 2 month break, the business might be weaker, but when you come back, it's reinforced again, and it's got the longevity again. And that's something that I think a lot of younger individuals need to understand as well, because when you're coming up, it's stressful, especially when you're working in other establishments.
I said something pretty reckless before in terms of like working myself to the point of death, etc. but like,
don't go back on it now.
No, I'm not going back on it. But if I have to, I would. But also,
but it's not just for you though, is it? I'm guessing.
No, absolutely not. I'm the last beneficiary of the work I do now, as it is, and I will be when I get into a particular position where I feel truly successful. Everybody benefit. Like my team, they all get paid way before me. You know, and you know, this is for my family and be able to anyway. But my point is, in terms of the reckless thing that I just said, is that within that, there is making decisions. There is saying to your partner, and actually, you know what, it's a Sunday, I don't want to go. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm going to sit on this couch.
Because I can.
Because I can, and I'm fucking tired. But also, I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm going to put a film on, and I'm just going to chill. So it's about trying to find little bits of breaks. But I know that right now, the business is heavily centered around my ability to be disciplined and keep going to work, keep making the food, etc. But we need to start putting, I think this is why we had to start having this conversation with you, because it's about putting the places in now where I can't, where I don't have to be there.
Building structure, isn't it?
It's building structure, and that's one of the things that when I knew you on Instagram before I knew you in real life, and one of the things I definitely was impressed by was seeing the different places that your things were going on, and I thought, well, this guy obviously knows what he's doing, and you know, it's good to be able to have things running without me having necessarily to be there. But it's also about finding the right.
Yeah, because that's the ultimate goal, to get to the freedom. Do you know what's interesting as well? Do you not think 10, 15 years ago, turning off your phone and ignoring the world was quite easy, and now, 10, 15 years later, currently, to turn off your phone and cut yourself off from the world is considered mature, and it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's a challenge for people who are, say, 5, 6 years younger than us, or?
Yeah, because we're adapting, man, and like phones are making people dumber.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you know, you'd go for bike rides for hours and not know where you was, and now always find you. Back in the day, you'd go for bike rides for hours and not know where you was and find your way back home.
Yeah.
But it's a different lifestyle now. I think everything that we do is online.
Beat the letter manhunt.
This is what I'm saying, man. Oh my gosh, it's what I'm but now everything we have is on our phones. Like sometimes we don't even go to the bank. We just go to the corner shop and put some money in nowadays.
Even at a bit of an older level, not just, you know, the level where we talk about kids, you know, age 12, 13, 14, 15 that don't go out. Even at a more mature level, let's say people in our age group. Let's say the people in our age group that haven't taken the path that we've taken. They see themselves going to work every single day, and then, for example, let's say we get to a stage where we're free, we're financially free, we're stable, we've got a happy family, it looks great on Instagram, on social media, on anywhere. They see that, and it destroys their personal, like, it breaks them down almost, and that's happening in the generation after us, it's happening in our generation. That's why I think it's important that we have these conversations to show them that this is what we've been going through to get to this point, and you can do it too. It's not just me on Instagram going skydiving and that's my life. There's a certain thing that I've done to get to this point, and there's reasons why I'm doing it, and you know, I want to share this, and I want to share my mentality behind it.
Yeah, I think you have to put your work in, and ultimately success is different, means different things to different people.
Yeah,
like, you know, before we opened the shop, I left Predator Nutrition, and I didn't have money, so we got the keys, I didn't have any money.
Typical, that's me as well.
Got the keys, didn't have any money, like just in a real shit position. So I got a job delivering pizzas for Papa John's on a weekend. But then I worked in the factory from like 12 till, or like 2 till 1 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m. in the afternoon till 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was back up in the morning working in the shop, and then driving to Oldham to go back in the factories.
Nobody would have known.
No, but
I've heard of it.
But here's the thing, though. When I was there, there's on the same day, I used to take my laptop to work, and we get like 2 45-minute breaks, and sat in the break room on my laptop, and one of the big bosses has noticed me and knocked in and said, "Oh, what are you doing? You come and do some work. You should be doing some work." I said, "I'm on my break." He said, "What are you working on?" I said, "I'm just working on some stuff." He said, "Can't you do any work for us?" I said, "But I'm doing work for myself first because I don't want to be here." And then I went into it, and then when he walked up, he smiled and walked up, and then I went and apologised because it sounded quite arsey, but it was true. But that same evening I realised there was a guy who used to come in all the time, whistling, skipping, hopping, like just happy. And this job was moving boxes for hours to different places, and the boxes never ended. There's no completion, so you just kept going, so we just scanning your boxes. And then I got talking to him because I just wanted to understand like how he could be so fucking happy in this environment. And I found that he'd been working there for 15 years. And I said, "Boss, you've been doing this for 15 years?" He said, yeah. And then like, and I do overtime on Saturdays. And I just couldn't believe it, but he was so happy because to him, he could provide for his family, and he would go to Bangladesh for 3 weeks a year, and that was success to him. And sometimes I envy people like that because it's like,
absolutely.
That I couldn't find peace within that. Do you get what I'm saying? So
I think my mentality is completely different to this guy you're talking about. My mentality is I wasn't built to be happy. I was built to provide. I was built to build a foundation. With my family coming over from Vietnam, we started with nothing. I'm the first generation born here. So there's nothing to inherit. Now, my objective in life ultimately is to pass on something like a legacy, whether it's to my sister's children or my nieces and nephews or my cousins or whoever it's to, you know. Or even my own children. I don't have children yet, but that's why, you know. But I feel like I wasn't put on this planet to be happy. I was put on this planet to get more and build and build and build and sacrifice everything that I am to get to that point. And I feel like there's a social pressure for men that say, if you're not happy, you're doing something wrong. You know, men get depression. It's a big, massive subject about it. But I believe that having depression as a man or as a woman is completely normal. Like, it's not, there shouldn't be a massive social stimulus around it as if it's a negative thing, because it only makes it worse. What it should be is, right, men have this burden that they carry from young, from social pressures. Women have their own burdens from social pressures we could never understand, you know. But there shouldn't be a massive social stimulus around it. For example, you shouldn't have to be in work seeing this gentleman who's worked there for 15 years and feel some type of way because you're not feeling the same way he's feeling at that job. You should be okay with how you're feeling.
Yeah,
you know.
And I think that comes with experience, and it comes with like understanding why you are here, what your purpose is. And you know, and ultimately, I realise now that my job is my job here is to create and help other people create. And whether that's through food or the business, etc. But you have to have these conversations with people, and you have to reflect to understand where you are. So me thinking, wow, why can't I be happy doing what he's doing? I understand that now, and I get your point. In terms of like,
you shouldn't have felt like that. There should have been no social pressure. No pressure for you to. You should have been happy with being unhappy with what you was doing. Does that make sense?
No, say it again.
So you should have been happy with not being happy for where you are. Let's say, for example, I've got a kitchen porter who works for me. He fucking hates it. He doesn't like washing the pots. He doesn't like the grease. He doesn't like doing the fryers and all this. But he's happy to know that he's unhappy with that, which makes him ambitious. But the point I'm making is he's happy to be unhappy with that so that he will now extract himself from that situation. You know, he knows it's not for him. He knows he doesn't like it.
But he's doing what he needs to do.
And
that's okay.
There you go. Yeah, he's doing what needs to be done.
And that's okay. I wasn't happy shifting fucking boxes and walking 20,000 steps.
I feel like that's the point I was trying to get across. It's just hard to word.
But that's okay. And I think nowadays we're led to believe that we have to be happy and full of joy all the time. I think it's great if you can be and find your spots of enjoyment, but what I've done is really difficult. And
I understand.
And I try to be as happy as possible, but I'm not happy. I'm not gonna be happy if you know, sometimes how can I put it? I'm not gonna be happy if I've got to get up and work from 6 till 10 and then miss my son's first birthday. I missed my son's first birthday in January this year. Now my partner was FaceTiming me from the venue. How can I be happy doing that? But I'm doing what I have to do because it's necessary. And there are tags and you know things like people like depression, etc. And I think it's a fine line. It's difficult. I 100% agree with what you're saying. But then also my partner does work in mental health, so some of the stuff that she does tell me, it's like some people are in really bad spots. But I don't think people are as in a bad spot mentally as they think they.
And it doesn't help. It doesn't help when there's external pressures. Say for example, social media. Say for example, your social group, the people that you grew up with, the peers that you went to school with, they're living different levels of life to you. It doesn't help when you're not happy with where you are. Or not satisfied with where you are, and you're not understanding that that's okay not to be satisfied. That's when you're like, fuck, everyone else is happy with where they are and I'm not. So that's when it adds to your problems already. But
which is why I take regular social media breaks, man.
It's good.
Which is why I'll just like bounce from social media. I have to keep my ARMR store one open. But like my personal ones, I just get off from them. But so
that's brilliant. You've become from the people that I've spoken to and what I've seen, you've become a very highly regarded person in the community. Now, there's a little bit of that's based around ARMR store, and then there's also a little bit of that's built around the things that you've done personally. obviously I've seen you at Manchester Carnival every year.
Amazing.
You do Manchester Carnival, you do it every year.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you and your community, and what does it mean for you and your brand? Like, to do it every year, how does that feel, and what does it mean to you?
I love it, man. I love it. You know, but during the reason why I smile is because it's a weekend sometimes of hell.
Yeah.
But I love it because it's another opportunity to be creative. It's another opportunity to generate an income, revenue, push a brand.
What does the carnival mean to your community?
It means something for us, if that makes sense. Without trying to sound like a victim.
Yeah.
It means something where we can go and celebrate our heritage, our culture, and be comfortable around. I mean, Carnival's very diverse, but just going somewhere knowing that there's no issues, or, well, I mean, everyone's got issues, but
you can be yourself.
You can be yourself.
Yeah.
You can hear the music you've been brought up to. You can eat the flavors of the food that you used to. But trading that Carnival is probably different to attending, but still.
Because you're part of the experience now. So surely you used to attend when you was younger, and now being able to deliver a part of that experience and be a part of that culture now and be a massive pillar of it, like a very, very recognised pillar in that community.
It's mad, you know, when people say this sort of stuff to me, I don't have any, like, I don't know, it doesn't really land, because I'm all...
Well, but you are though, because let's say, look here, the campaign with Manchester International Festival, you know, Kane Musa. This achievement's more relevant because of how hard you work, solid role model for our community. And I see him as a very successful individual, you know, and I bump into him sometimes in Zara, even though he's got bad sport going. I bump into him in Zara sometimes and I see him bruises on his face from his fights and stuff. But if someone like this and other people of that influence in Manchester alone are recognising you for what you're doing, and there's respect being paid, and you know the culture of your staff. When I've been in ARMR store, there's a nice vibe to it. No one's forced to be there. Everyone wants to be there. Even the customers, like, they're proud to be a part of it. They're proud to be on your social media. They're proud to try your food. So kudos to yourself. Don't dismiss that.
Nah, you know, I'm not. It's really weird. I think I need to do some more inner work, like, to really understand and, like, feel what you're saying. And it's really crazy because, like, you know, I never ask anyone to repost, really. I don't think I've ever done. But you know, people come in and go out their own way to make reels for the shop, post stuff online, leave amazing reviews, and generally, like, there's an affinity with the brand. I feel like there's obviously loads we can improve. There's more I can improve. I know that this last 12 months, I've been relying on people's patience a little bit more, whether that be customers, independent brands, my team, etc. But we're in a phase of, like, transition. But yeah, I think we've done stuff, I've done stuff, but I think I just expect way too much.
No, you've done phenomenal. You're very recognised. How does working with independent local brands add to the community sense? Did you purposely set out to build a community shop or a community vibe, or was that something that's natural to you?
It's the blueprint. Every business, in my opinion, every business that benefits from their local community should give back some way.
Communicate with them.
You know, and I love, and you know, I tried to start like a petition, or I just got the idea around some councillors and whatever, to see how can we actually leverage some businesses who are making thousands locally to actually put a percentage of that back in. And even if you're offsetting your taxes, like, how can we make it, you know, like, more beneficial for people in that community?
People in the area.
But yeah, I think it's part of my blueprint as a business owner to be able to.
How does platforms like Manchester International Festival help with that blueprint?
MIF have been great. Seeing how they create events, seeing how they work with individuals of the community, how they share platforms with people. I've been able to take something from that. But also, we did a wellbeing festival this year in July, where we give away, like, ARMR store give away food, drinks. We had Marcel DJing.
Yeah.
We did loads of stuff.
He's everywhere, isn't it?
Marcel, yeah, but he's Manchester's number one DJ right now, in my opinion. But then MAF come through and like supported us financially with that as well. So they've been brilliant for me. But yeah, this is part of. I don't know. Should I mention it or not? Is it really relevant? Let me think. Maybe it's relevant because one thing I want to get across is like staying focused and sticking with your goals. So the week before we did this festival for free, I was in court. I took someone to court and I was expecting to get a payout of like close to 6 figures. For me, it was nailed on. But anyway, I ended up coming out of court with like nearly a 40 grand fine. I swear to like nearly a 40 grand fine and like the risk of yeah, I mean, had it not been for the other barrister, you know, there was a potential of going to prison, which would have been unjust. Again. But I remember having to represent myself in court because my own legal team walked out and whatnot. And that when I got out of court, that was a real like.
How did that hit you mentally?
Moment, man. Like I was having to. I just remember like, you know, I went and just had a beer, sat by myself for a little bit.
What kind of emotions was you feeling after a loss like that?
Anger, man. Because you know what, if I lost fair and square. I'd have been cool.
Well, you'd lost on someone else's terms.
I would, I would have shook the other side's hand and said, you know what, alright, sweet. You know, I was lying and whatever else. You know, I did bring a fraudulent claim, but I didn't, and I lost because the other side were able to lie and get away with it, and because I was representing myself, I wasn't able to articulate myself as well as obviously a trained barrister was.
How so moving on from that, how are you handling how are you picking up the pieces?
We're still picking up them pieces, but my point was that at that particular moment, it would have been very easy and understandable for me to go off the rails, but like one thing that I've done in times, real desperate times, is use it as an opportunity for growth. So it would have been acceptable if I decided, you know, I'll cancel this festival, whatever, I'm giving away, I'm putting money into it, where, you know, we're getting support elsewhere, and then giving away stuff for free. But actually, no, there's an opportunity there. So just because this has happened to me, doesn't mean to say that I can't stay focused on my goals. You know, I was in a car crash.
Takes a lot of integrity, that.
Woman went straight into the back of me at traffic lights. Well, I was going to pick up some equipment for a catering job that we had coming up. I ended up going to A&E, but van was wrote off, went to A&E, was in A&E till like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then as I'm leaving, I've got two choices. I'll go home, get in bed, or I'll go to the shop and jump on my laptop. Now I make sure that even though everything says go home and get in bed, we go to the shop, we get on our laptop, because for me what that does is it trains my mind to say, look, no matter what happens, I'm gonna stay on this path. And it also lets the universe know as well that you're not here to play, man. You can throw what you want at me.
How does that separate you from competitors?
I mean, pickling carrots at 12 a.m. It's like we mentioned it before. We're not the cheapest of caterers, but we go to the ends of the earth to do the best job we can, and we don't settle with the food is okay. Like if someone says the food is okay to me, I'm really disappointed, unless they say the food is amazing. I think that's really helped me grow, because you know, whether you know or not, when we first opened the shop, I wasn't. I mean, I could cook every now and again. I might do like a little, I don't know, I might copy something off MasterChef every now and again. But I had to learn on the job. So do
you ever feel like you was in a situation where you've completely derailed your momentum, you completely derived or took a detour from the direction you're supposed to be going in, and life wasn't planning out the way it needed to plan out?
I don't know if there's a particular moment, but I think And right now I've learned to run with the waves a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. It's going to be difficult at times, but like instead of trying to fight it, I try to just go with that direction. If that makes sense, I don't know if that answers your question fully.
One question I do like to ask a lot of different people is, have you had a breaking point?
All the fucking time, man.
Yeah.
I have one on the way here.
Yeah. I mean, like a severe breaking point where you're all out of options. You're all out of options. The people who usually have you back, they're out of options.
Yeah.
No one knows how to handle your situation because they've not been through it, and it's unique, and you don't know who to turn to.
Yeah.
The mentors aren't around. You know, the people that you would look to for emotional support, you need to leave them alone for a second. That kind of situation. Because one of my strongest beliefs, and I had it written on my mirror for years and years and years, like 4 or 5 years, is you cannot be a champion until you survive a breaking point. So when I see people in situations where I consider them highly effective, people like yourself, I know there's been a breaking point somewhere. I know that somewhere along the life of Raph, there's been a point where face down in the pillow, screaming at the world, everything's gone wrong, there's no way out, but then somehow here you are.
Oh man, like literally, I know I was joking before when I mentioned about not being able to pick one out or whatever, but there's been several, and I think I've learned now that just before or just after that breaking point, or just as you get into that breaking point, something does happen for you. But I think when my shop got closed by the government during COVID, we supported, was it Stand Up Manchester, I think they're called, or a faction of that. So we allowed them to use our space in the back of the shop, because there's an alternate view, you know, and there's some people that wanted to come and get educated on COVID, their rights, etc. So we used the back of our shop. And then anyway, the government didn't like it, council didn't like it, so they came, enforcement, you know, closed us down for 3 weeks, which is effectively was like a hefty fine because it means we couldn't work. And that was just before my partner went into labour with my son. So that was difficult because, you know, my partner's not in work, although she's, you know, still getting maternity and whatever, maternity pay. But she's not in work. We've just had our son, and now I've lost the ability to earn money. And even more so, that support network, those people who were coming to the shop all of a sudden weren't coming to the shop anymore. So that was really, really difficult, but I've just been really lucky. I've been really blessed, man. Like every time something like that happens, or something to that same effect happens, there's always been a silver lining somewhere. And I feel like it's gonna sound really arrogant to say this, and I try to say it in the most humble of ways possible. I know I have a purpose, but there's this saying, those who are chosen by God are chased by the devil. So I understand that there's gonna be shit that pops up out of the blue. Some because of my own inadequacies. Some because of my own inadequacies. Some because of my own, like, you know, gaps in knowledge and mistakes.
Welcome to De-Partie chat. No one can speak.
I know. Well, yeah, some because of myself. You know, not everything is everyone else's fault. You know, shit will happen because of myself. But then also, things will happen out of the blue. But then great things will also happen out of the blue.
Yeah.
You know, and seeds that I've planted will come to fruition at the right time. So it's just a real balance between practical and spiritual, and it's just a real fun.
Nice.
It's like the funniest, most difficult ride you could be on without actually it being fun.
I always say being an entrepreneur, and the thing is, it's not even just being an entrepreneur, even being a chef. 95% of the time, it is horrible. Horrible. But that other 5% of your time is that good. Is that good. It makes up for it all. It makes up for everything.
And for me, it's just about trying to stay, you know, when the 95% is happening, it's just, you know, just
try to stay, keep your head above water,
keep level.
So is with ARMR Store, I know you're going to keep growing the brand. I'm not even going to ask that. I know you're going to keep growing the brand. I know you're going to keep pushing it. But what's next for you and what you want to do in the community?
Well, actually, with ARMR Store, we'll probably be closing in January.
Really?
We'll be closing in January because for a number of things.
That's a De-Partie chat exclusive. You know, that's a scoop.
I've not told most people.
That is a scoop.
But you know what? Because we've got this new contract coming up, and it's a huge opportunity for us. You have to remember, we've done how many catering jobs? We must have done about 30 catering jobs this year, and obviously we trade 6 days a week, and we've done loads. All this is without a fucking kitchen. So the sweat equity it takes to do that.
It's inefficient.
No, it's inefficient isn't the word. It's difficult, and I've been doing that for like three years now.
Yeah. So
you've got this podcast interview has come at the right time, or maybe the wrong time.
Yeah.
It's come at the right time.
Yeah, this isn't getting released until next year anyway. So.
Nah, it doesn't matter, but it's come at the right time in the sense that actually there's a transition period now, and I'm okay with it because, you know, if I can't get a kitchen in ARMR Store, all I'm doing now as we're growing is damaging my brand.
Yes.
So I've realised when I look at our customers, we still get quite a lot of customers in from.
It's crazy that you realise that not many businessmen realise when they actually are doing more harm than good for the brand.
This is what I'm
saying. Even
saying.
the personal brand sometimes. That's massive to realise that.
100%, and I think to myself, well, is it better to right? So my point, the reason why I'm thinking about it this way is because a lot of our customers now, obviously I'm in the shop quite a lot, and I see customers from year 1, year up to year 2.5 regularly. So they're the loyalists, they're the ones who understand us, have their patience, understand actually that sometimes if they're coming at 4 o'clock, we may have sold out of food because that's how the business runs.
Me not have that. Me not have that.
No, I don't want to be like that at all, man. I try to stay up away from that. But like the newer customers are less attached to the brand.
Yeah.
So the repeat business isn't there as much. So I've got to ask myself, is it worthwhile us staying open and potentially losing? There's some shops. There's one shop in town that 10 years ago, maybe it's because I'm petty as fuck, but one shop in town that 10 years ago wouldn't let me buy a dumpling for a £10. Well, I had a £10 note, they wouldn't let me buy a dumpling. And I've not been back since, and I won't go back, simply because of that interaction.
Yeah.
Are we creating more customers like I was then, by having customers travel to us
and they can't get what
they want?
Do you know? It's. I don't think that's the case. I think, not to get into the whole business development approach, but you know, you're in a situation where if you returning customers or loyal patrons are not returning, you've got to reignite and reinvent and reconnect with new individuals. That's very demanding on your team, on you, both in time, both in finance, both in effort. So there's that, but not to get into the business development side.
It's understanding your market as well, man. This is important. You know, this year we've seen a fall of some huge plant-based businesses, Vertigo, V-Rev. These are staples that have been around for ages. Earth Cafe went a few.
Not even just in the vegan market. Look at SMF. You know, the closure of my unit in
Which
January.
I always wanted to ask you about, man. Yeah. To be honest with you, man. Because every time I used to drive through town, and I used to look inside or whatever. Always look busy, man. Always look great.
It was. I mean, so I this time last year, I was going through what you're going through. I'm closing in January. So imagine. This time last year, I was going through what you're going through. Flagship store, lots of money went into it, perfect branding, really connected with our community, really connected with the other businesses in the area. Nothing wrong with it, making money. So what went wrong? Well, I can tell you now, we was making money. It wasn't down to customers not turning up. Saturday nights we couldn't keep up with it. Like, we had a kitchen, but we couldn't keep up with the demand. Now, what went wrong was I was impulsive when it came to taking the unit on. So I could turn around and say the mistakes were when it was around 3-4 months old, or it was 6 months old. No, the mistake was made before the doors even opened, before I even took the key to the unit. The mistake was made then.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of going into business with the wrong people, with the wrong ideas and the wrong visions, with the wrong attitude.
That's dangerous, man.
Very dangerous. But imagine, 24, 25, whatever age I was when I took it on.
Yeah.
And I'd been building a business for 5 years, and I've finally got a break, and someone's going to pump loads of money into it. I'm going to get a location which is unimaginable. Unimaginable.
It's so sick how it works. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
I drove past there yesterday, and I thought
It's still
it
closed.
needs something like this.
Still
there.
closed. I know. I know. And
it's-
it breaks my heart, man. And
Yeah.
this is why I've started doing this podcast, because that January of, well, it was 2022 January. I'll be very honest, I felt like I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. Wherever the body goes, the soul goes, whatever, that's where I wanted to be. I did not want to be here. So when I talk about breaking points, and you said, yeah, there's loads of them, that's one of my personal breaking points, and that was horrible. The only person that got me through it was a friend that I actually helped through his tough time a few years back, and it wasn't something that I told my family about, close friends about, colleagues about. But the way the business closed, it was very unprofessional, very horrible, very abrupt. And it closed at a time that I purposely withdrew from catering contracts. I purposely withdrew from catering contracts to then focus on building the brand and working on that unit. Only to deliver my last gig with with those 3 contracts, wake up the next morning to a phone call, and the phone call was a complete lie. But out of trust for that person, I believed what they were saying down the phone. Made all the staff redundant, closed the venue, put everything to bed. You're talking a venue that was doing 30 to 40 grand minimum every 2 weeks. It was crazy, and put the whole company to bed on the basis of a lie. 3 months later, once I've actually got over my little mental breakdown, I found out that it was a lie. That's when I found out. But by that point, I'd already reignited my personal flame, refocused myself, realigned myself with where I wanted to go, built 2 new brands, still trading with the South Many Flavours brand, but at a smaller scale, in a more intimate environment, in terms of the team and the culture.
What was the lie?
The lie was the landlord kicked us out.
Oh.
The lie was the landlord kicked us out. 3 months later, when Q1's invoice for the rent came in, I contacted them saying, why are you invoicing me? Thought we got evicted. Turns out they knew nothing of it. And then I find out before that, the other 2 directors of the new company that we registered had resigned in January before this phone call ever came to me. Resigned in December before the phone call ever came to me in January. So you can imagine how betrayed I felt. And so I was left with all the debt, the winding up of the business. I was just left stuck in the mud, really. But spent a month feeling sorry for myself, spent a month resting, doing nothing. And then March 2022, picked myself back up, built my own agency, rebuilt the SMF brand, which is only an echo of what it was last year, but hurts, but it's okay. And then started a new brand for bars and restaurants, so.
Which is sick, man. You obviously got a flair and talent for it. Like, I've been asking myself, where the hell did you get this name Major Tom from, man? It's like, but it fucking works, man. Like, it's crazy. Then the colour scheme,
I heard it in a David Bowie song.
Bro, but then the colour scheme that you've used as well, and like the little bits I've seen online, I just thought, yeah, I don't know if you've done branding or whatever.
No.
But like that creativity, that vision that you have, is crazy, man. And you yeah, man. You have a lot to offer, and it's inspiring, man, to hear you say that, because it could feel like the be all and end all, but look, in less than a year's time, you're back up running.
Depends what you're made of, really, and it depends. What I see is time, and when I say I see time, is a lot of people go through life and they have no concept of time. Okay, they can tell the time, but they have no concept of time. I know exactly where I'm up to in my life. A friend of mine that I hadn't seen in years, funny enough, his name's Raph as well, was sat there in this bar at an event that we had here the other night, and he said to me, he said, the thing is, Aaron, and no one's ever said this to me, first time anyone's ever said this to me, you know what, Aaron, with you, it's because you know yourself. And I was just like, do I? First time hearing. But then I've had to think about it, and it's because I know time. I know it's not promised. I know anything can happen to me today, tomorrow. I know in this short amount of time that I've been on this planet, you know, a quarter of a century, it's only a blip of existence. It's my mark on this planet can never be as substantial as a volcano erupting, or an earthquake, or a tidal wave, or an ice age. But my small little effects that I can do can affect the time for the people that are around me and are affected by my energy and my vibrations over a period of, say, maybe 150 years, if I can set up something for them to inherit.
100%, man. And to be honest with you, I don't think you'll ever really feel the effects, both positively and negatively, as business owners, of how we impact the future. And I think you said a second ago about realizing that it's only a blip, and which is a beautiful way of looking at it, because you know we think everything is absolute. We think sometimes when we go through these things, we think this is what necessarily defines our life moving forward. And don't get me wrong, we can be altered and changed in certain ways from certain events. Like, you would have learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
But being able to almost take a step back mentally and understand that what you're going through is just a small blip. It helps refocus the mind.
I was on the cusp of just letting go, honestly, and this is why I want to launch this project, and it means so much to me, because everything that I've just been through is so fresh, you know, as if it's still there almost. But there's like a sense, or I don't know if I'm just telling myself this, that I'm over it and I'm working through it and I've come out the other side shining, or if I actually have. I don't know the difference just yet. It's too soon to tell. Still, the wounds are quite fresh.
Well, look, this is a manifestation of what happened.
Yeah.
And through you helping others through this vehicle, will also be helping yourself as well, man.
Yeah.
I think there's always an element of what we do.
Yeah, it's the first time I've spoken about it on record. No one's people have asked, but no one's really. No one's got it. Usually, there'd be press releases on closures, this, that, the other. You don't see the closure in the MEN, the Manc, the Finest, Mancon. You don't see anything written about the closure. You know, you see the closures of all these other businesses, and they're sharing the story. But I was so embarrassed because I felt so stupid about how it ended. I didn't want to tell that story. You know,
but it's a learning curve, man, and it reminds me of, you know, the very first business I was involved in was when I was 21. I was with some guys in Wilmslow. We set up a football agency. Long story short, they'd given me less. I trusted them implicitly. I remember my dad saying to me, "Oh, make sure you check the paperwork," but I trusted them implicitly. And they'd given me less of a percentage than everyone else that was involved. But at that time, there was other influential people involved, but I know that, you know, a lot of the ideas and the blueprints and the catalysts or whatever initially came from me. Don't get me wrong, there were other people in there that were pretty dope in the end. But then after trading for about a year, just randomly met like some solicitor, and she was talking to her about it. She looked into the company for me and realised that I had like 5% shares and it should have been like 25. So that really affected how my work did.
We've gone over. This is crazy, man. Like, your earliest business venture was based on betrayal. What would you say?
Some way you can put it.
Basically. Yeah. What would you say now to people who are 21 and considering this industry? Everything that we've said hasn't painted a good picture about it. However, we're both sat here. I would like to think as highly respected individuals in our industry and in both of our communities. What would you say to someone who...
There goes the neighbourhood, man. That's what it is.
What would you say to someone who is coming into our industry or has goals and ambitions similar to ours? And in terms of like persevering through the challenges and persevering through the upsets that are caused by other individuals, you know, catalysts and external influences?
I think it's important to realise it's a part of the journey, man. It's part of life. They're genuine. It's dead cliche to say, but they genuinely are. These things are lessons.
Yeah.
And you know, people are here to teach us things, and I'm a believer that we have expiry dates with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just about putting your best foot forward. There's nothing you can't do. I mean, there probably is some stuff you can't do, but you should try everything. And I think once you hone your skills and you understand yourself, as you said before, about knowing yourself, you'll realise within your field, there's nothing you can't do. But then also be wise enough to build a team of people who can do things better than you.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
I can do my admin, but I'm shit at it. It takes me forever. I might as well get someone in, and that will allow me to go and do other stuff.
It's like, why do people hire accountants?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
It's like when a friend of mine, he's inherited a restaurant, and the mistake I personally think he made is he hired people who are lesser experienced, lesser skilled than him, and he wanted to build this hierarchy of individuals. Now, I disagreed with him and told him it's a sign of insecurity in your own skills and your own leadership. And he didn't like it. We're not a good term.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's insecurity. That's what it is. Whereas I will happily employ a chef that can cook dishes I've never cooked, produce a menu I've never produced, lead the way I never lead, and it's.
Well, that's what you need. I think like staff, your team, and people that work with you are vital.
They need to, yeah.
Even the ones that I've let go in the past who I no longer speak to, they've played their part massively.
Yeah.
But it's about, again, as a business owner, understanding like you have strength in the people that you're only going to be as successful as your team. And if you're feeding your own ego by sitting at the head of the table in meetings and telling everybody whatever, and you could be chatting crap.
One of my mentors literally said, "You're only as good as your team."
Yeah.
And I've carried that with me.
Yeah,
you're only as good as your team.
You are, because look, at the end of the day, it depends on, you know, if I'm not there and someone, you know, one of the staff members are in there, that a new customer is not going to know the difference. So however that team member serves them, that's our customer service to that shop. So to that customer, that's our customer service. That's our level. It's not very good.
Yeah.
But now with this, I have fell foul a little bit in the past in terms of like hiring people who I thought I could help, hiring people who I thought had potential, hiring people who I thought needed the money. But now,
favors.
Yeah, but now, as we move into this new phase, this new era, we've got a team, we've got a meeting coming up, and I think hopefully Friday. Well, it depends on some stuff, but we pencil it in for Friday. And every single one of the people that are around the table are talented, skillful, and they won't let me get away with bullshit. They won't let me say stuff that don't make no sense. Because sometimes I've been in meetings and I've imploring people to challenge me and say stuff, and I'll say things, but until I get home and I check myself, or I say something to my partner and then she will check me, I will walk out a meeting thinking I'm right. Yeah. But now the good thing is moving forward that these people that I've got around the table,
got credibility, so you need to listen.
They've got credibility, and they're not gonna allow me to say something that don't make sense. Yeah. Or
embarrass yourself, damage your brand, embarrass them on their recommendation.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, and the best team, they're people that do what they do first and foremost for themselves. Yeah. So, you know, me working at 17 or whatever it was, how old was it? Maybe 21 or something like that. I didn't worry about my wage. My manager didn't have to ask me to do anything. Everything was almost for myself, but because it was for myself, and it was important to me that I stacked the shelves properly, I hit my sales targets, etc. Obviously, I excelled within that business, and I have a team of people around me now that I'm forming around me now that I'm really excited for.
When you're selecting your team, you know, because the way I select my team is it's more on a basic level, because some of the businesses that I'm building, they're not being built to be as intimate as yours. For example, yours is very customer facing, very customer facing. So when you bring somebody in, are you looking at how they can network, how they can represent your brand, or are you looking at skill set, are you looking at experience? What is it you're currently looking for? So, in terms of younger individuals in your team building.
So I guess that's changed now. I've always looked at potential and opportunities. I've always wanted to provide opportunities for others. The pool for staff for us is quite small. Simply because, generally speaking, we want to have people in our shop that look like, it's going to sound terrible, but that look
represent
like
the brand.
That represent the brand and look like if you ask them what the meal of the day is, they all know what it
is. Yeah. I've employed some dummies in my time.
Yeah, but like we ain't super inclusive, and I've employed lots of different people. But right now, what I look for is like drive.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one thing for me: drive and competence.
Yeah. And common sense.
Common sense, which isn't sometimes so common.
I personally like the fact that somebody's been through some shit.
Yeah.
And it's because I see a reason for them to turn up every day, and it makes me feel a little bit better about, are they going to turn up? It removes a certain doubt. I know they're going to turn up. For example, that Asian guy you referred to, who was working stacking pizza boxes for 15 years, he turns up every single day because his reason why marries up with the visions of what he's doing. But with everything we've said so far, honestly, I'd love to have you on even longer, but I think we're going to be running out of film. So I'm gonna wrap up with letting you share, a little sentiment. Just leave something behind, not essentially just for the podcast or just for the viewers, but for you to come back to and listen to in years to come when this is live. When this is almost speak to yourself from the heart in it for the future.
Flipping out, man.
It's a lot,
You've just been throwing so much complex shit at me since we sat down, man.
But whilst you think about that, I'll give you 30 seconds to have a breather. Right. But I just want it, again, on record, my favourite quote of Raph's is, whatever you're trying to achieve, never give up. I still remember being stood in this room, pretending to serve imaginary customers. It's weird, manifesting is real. Wow. So no matter what happens with ARMR Store, just know that you did it from shell to community hub.
We've got so much to be proud of. I always say I have so much to be proud of, to be fair. Like the things that we've done in our community, the opportunities we've provided, the money that we've put back into the economic, social class, if that makes sense. It's something to be proud of. But I just know there's more from it. In terms of your question, leave you with a sentiment.
I'll help you. You're gonna be sad to see ARMR Store close.
Am I gonna be sad?
Yeah. Is there emotions attached to that business?
Yeah, bro. That's my baby, man. Yeah. All right, that's my baby, bro. Yeah. But I feel like we need to go away, readjust, and bring a 2.0, which is what we're working on and we're hoping to do in the summer this year, next year. Yeah. And implement
readjust and bring a 2.0.
We'll implement some. We'll probably step away from being completely plant-based, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Open the revenue streams.
Open the revenue streams and
more windows of opportunity for revenue.
But it's being aware of what's going on in your city. There's a gap in the market. Not necessarily for another Caribbean food shop, but for, if you look at like I think at one point Bosu had like 3 shops.
Yeah, and
Kettlebell Kitchen and all these places. Yeah. So there's a gap there. Don't try and take it. I hope you don't try and take this idea. I know you can get that sold tomorrow, bro. But yeah, there's a gap there that I feel.
Never air the podcast. Just open a shop tomorrow.
But there's that gap of grilled fish, chicken, and whatever. But this time with like some flavors and personality and customer service. But Ask me that last question again, because I'm trying to understand it, man.
Leave us with a message. Not just for the people viewing it.
Yeah.
Not just for me. Not just for socials. But for you to look back at this podcast one day and think, do you know what? I was right, or do you know what? My mentality has changed, or just a message that represents your current experience or your current level. It could be a message to yourself in the past, but the reason I'm asking you to aim it towards yourself is because there's someone out there watching this podcast right now that has been listening to every word that you've said, and they've hung onto it like a needle and thread. And they can probably relate to you more than you think, and you probably might never meet them, but they might be just like you.
I think me personally, from a personal standpoint, I think it's about being aware of yourself and what's happening around you, and trusting your guts. Trusting your gut. Let me start again. Cut that out. Trusting your gut. Kind of bullshit is that. Let's start that again. Fuck me. I'm not. This is why I can never so I never can run for president.
Or you could just share with us what this podcast has helped you realise or see, or what the benefits of this podcast has been. You know.
No, well, it's been good. I think it's been good. I think definitely. I mean, in future, probably need more time, because I feel like there's so many more layers, and there's
much more to give.
There's more to like add context to, because I think context is important. So yeah, I'd love to obviously dive deeper into it, but it's important to speak and share. And I said some things today that might not resonate with anybody in the world, but I know that one or two things I might have mentioned will resonate with that one person, and that one person is still me now, looking at podcasts or whatever elsewhere where people are talking about their own journeys, and I'm taking small pieces from it. But no, thank you for having me on. I think if I was to, I said this quote before, but it's so important to me because I feel like it's helped me no end. And it's just my own quote as well. Like I haven't got trademarks for it.
You got a book of quotes.
But I posted it somewhere. Listen, I got quotes, I got websites, Instagram, it's crazy. But creativity always beats adversity.
Wow. Yeah.
And no matter what situation you're in, if you can think creatively and think outside the box, you will come up with the answers. And I can give you countless examples of when that's been the case. We traded at Freight Island. We had no money, we had no equipment, we had no team, no staff.
Sometimes you say yes and jump and grow your wings on the way down.
We say yes and you fuck it, and you leverage your way. You leverage your way to get there. And then obviously we did it, and it wasn't that we didn't do as good as we did, but we turned over more in that one weekend than we did in a month.
Yeah, so you needed that.
So we needed that, but it was a learning thing for us. But yeah, you get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. No, it's been a pleasure, and do you know what? To dig deeper into your story has been so beneficial for me on so many levels, and you've even opened up a few conversations and a few introverted opinions to myself, which has been very, very insightful. And I'm excited to see the reactions to this and see how people respond to things that you say, and you know how you view the world at the moment, and the achievements that you've made. And some of the people that endorse you as your personal brand, not just ARMR Store. Like I know ARMR Store, you had Leon Edwards in there at one point.
Yeah, man.
You had an MP, Barry Gardiner, in there. Yeah, so I know a lot of people endorse your brand.
Yeah.
And it's a case of it's you that I wanted to speak to, and I got that today. So I'm very, very grateful.
No, thank you for having me on, because like ARMR Store, you won't see anything of me on there. That's why I have the Raph ARMR page. It's a bit more of a personal thing. And people want to talk to me. Sometimes I don't know why.
No, this project is it means so much to me. So, wow.
No, this is massive what you're doing. Honestly, and I love the angle. I love the professionalism, how you've gone about it. Your character is in everything that you do. There's no one. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but no one else wrote that brief over the year.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah.
And I can just hear you. I can just hear your accent, and I just think, yeah, man, I love what you do, and thank you very much for having me on, and I feel truly blessed to be here.
Thank you.
Honestly, man.
Yeah.
You're a superstar, bro. You're a superstar, honestly, bro. Honestly, like what you've created, and to go from what you went from in January this year, before the year's out, to be doing shit like this is insane, man. It's insane. And we have another meal on the 27th of January.
I'll be there.
So
I'll be there. Oh wait, no, I won't. I think I'm going to France for a bit. I'm going to work in France. Yeah, but if I'm not, I'll be there.
Yeah, okay.
But to wrap that up, Raph ARMR store, amazing pillar in the community. Very grateful for having him on. Yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to De-Partie Chat. Keep up with us. Next week we've got a brilliant guest coming in for you guys as well. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you, man.
How did we do? Let's get the heaters back on, man. Yo, that was good, man. That was very good, man.
Yeah, man.
Very
You
good.
killed it, man.
Yo.